The firmware on this radio, the Quansheng UV-K5, has apparently been hacked, and you can apparently receive a massively wide chunk of frequency spectrum. We're going to test that today, load up the firmware on here and see what happens. There is a link in the description to where you can find the firmwares. This is experimental. Anything that you do with your radio, I am not liable for. The person who come up with this firmware is not liable for. If you brick your radio, if your radio dies, if it stops transmitting, it stops receiving, whatever, it is your responsibility. This is purely experimental. Don't transmit on frequencies that you're not allowed to. Use a dummy load, use a test set if you want to test output powers and all that sort of thing for experimental purposes. The very first thing that you're going to need is you're going to have to go to the Quansheng website. There is a link again in the description below to this. Scroll all the way down to the bottom where there will be some downloads, and you want to download the UV-K5 firmware file here. Now, once you get that, then extract it. And once you extract it, you'll actually get this folder here, and it will come with all of these different files, including how to upgrade and everything like that. There will also be a bin firmware file here. So this is the proper firmware from Quansheng if you want to update to that. I'm not quite sure exactly what's in this file. If you actually open up the Word document, this just gives you an instruction on how to actually upgrade the firmware. But in any case, if you wanted to just upgrade to the firmware that's provided by Quansheng, then you can do so here with this bin file. We're not going to do that today. I've installed the program already. Here it is here, Portable Radio Tools. Now, what I've got here is I've got a Baofeng USB cable with just the normal plug here on the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug that into the side where the microphone and the speaker jack goes into the side here. So we'll plug that in. Once you're plugged in, just let's go back here and we'll click connect. So now we're connected. Let's select our file. Now, okay, so let's go here. This is GitHub. This user, Tunis1337, has got this UV-K5 modded firmware, and there's all these different modified firmwares. Some of them have some notes in them. You can see here TX18, and I'm assuming this is megahertz to 1300 megahertz. Some of these modified firmwares here, they have some features such as regular FM reception from 18 megahertz to 850 megahertz, or 1300 megahertz with the extended mod. So what we'll do is let's load in the firmware first that will do 850 megahertz and see how we go with that. And then we can try the extended mod after that. AM reception as well. So you can receive 18 to 136 megahertz AM and apparently 850 megahertz with the extended mod for AM. And then here's is transmission outside of these bands, but again, we don't want to be doing anything that we're not allowed to. The Quansheng UV-K5 cannot receive signals between 630 and 840 megahertz, so that's a hardware limitation. And there's just a little bit of a diagram here for research purposes about what the spectral purity looks like transmitting on 27 megahertz using FM, I think, and there's quite a few spurs there. So let's go and download the 18, that's the one we want. Let's not do the TX at the moment. Let's go mod 18 to 850. Then once that's downloaded, then load that into the program and we should be able to click update. Now, I think there's an extra step that we need to take here. You need to hold down the PTT and hold the PTT button as you turn it on. You'll see that the light has come on. And if we then plug our programming cable in, I think now we're good to program. So let's go back and click connect. There we go, the update button allows us to do that. We click update and we can see the flashing light here now on the Quansheng. Boom, update program successful. All right, so now the radio has booted back up. Let's go 29 megahertz because I know that that's an amateur band that we can have a listen on and we can do a test on. 29,600. Look at that. 29,600. It works. Okay, so let's change that to I've got that on AM at the moment and I don't want it on AM, so let's go to FM. If this actually receives, so I'm going to fire up my my IC7300. VK7 Hotel testing. VK7 HH testing. There you go. So that's receiving on 29 megahertz. VK7 Hotel. Okay, so it does receive, but I doubt it's that sensitive. Let's go up in frequency. It'll go up to 850 and then it will go down to 18 megahertz. I don't know what that actually means. But anyway, it will receive up to 850. Well, you can put the dial on 850. There are some frequencies up at about 867 megahertz that I could probably listen to and see if it will receive up there. Incidentally too, if I tried transmit, it doesn't work. So that is, I think actually there, that must mean no transmitty. Let's load the next firmware up, which was the extended firmware here. So before I continue, I just want a quick shout out to some of my YouTube members and Patreons. Thank you very much for the support of the channel. It's because of you that I can do videos such as these. Thank you to those who are listed on the screen. You guys are the newest members and Patreons. If you'd like to become a Ham Radio DX supporter, then there is a link in the description below. So now I've got the 18 to 1300 megahertz firmware and update, and it's flashing. Oh, okay. So that is receiving on, this is the trunk 865-3375. That is the trunk frequency from, if I can try and find which transmitter it's from. Yep, seems to receive that fine. Okay, so that's from a site which is probably about 5 or 6 miles away this way. Hooked up to an external antenna outside. It's actually working pretty well. I wonder whether I'll hear it from inside. Let's just go back to the trunk channel and plug the whip back in. Do you reckon I'll be able to hear it? Oh, look at that. That's actually surprising. So, okay, so let's see if there's any voice activity happening on that frequency.
With the Fido jumper, what's he wanted for?
There we go. That's actually a public safety trunked network that I can now listen to. Unfortunately, the radio doesn't do trunking, so you have to move through the frequencies as they trunk through them.
Okay, from Hotel 23.
There we go again. This is actually, I'm actually surprised actually how well that's receiving. I want to try even higher. Let's try 1.2 gigahertz because I do have a signal generator for 1.2 gigahertz. What happens if we go 99? Okay, and we'll go up one step and it goes to 0.0000. That's a bit weird. How do I put in my frequency? So that should be 0000 on band F7. That should be 1 gig. So let's just go back just to confirm that it actually receives up that high. Let's change this to 1000 and connect our signal generator back up. Oh, it's receiving. Well, it's receiving a carrier on 1 gigahertz. So I'm not quite sure how you set the frequency on this to get it even higher. I'm assuming that you're going to have to set your step sizes. If you go back here and you go down to step, it's currently set on 12.5 kilohertz. I can go as high as 25, but like that's going to take a long time for you to go up and get to your frequency because like that's only 500 kilohertz. There's 1 megahertz. So I need to figure out how you actually enter the frequency in. So I'm not quite sure how you do that, but if someone else wants to experiment, then let me know in the comments how you actually change the frequencies of that. So I don't know how sensitive this receiver is. What I might do is on a future video, put how we can put this over the service monitor and see just how sensitive it is. One thing that was on this website was a list of expected output power levels that they've measured into a service monitor there. You can see there that it's milliwatts on some of the bands that are out of band, because the transmitter obviously is not quite supposed to be transmitting that far out of band, transmitting microwatts. I mean, you might be able to make something out of that if you're transmitting on a band that you're allowed to. So, you know, maybe if you're transmitting on the amateur band on 29 megahertz, you might get a little bit of power to maybe drive an amplifier or something like that. But it's kind of a bit more of experimental stuff. But I'm actually quite impressed at how well this receives the trunked channels. If you want to learn more and see some of the other videos that I've done about the Quansheng, then there is some links right here that you can follow.